talk about social justice, very similar to what we talked about last week: respect for life, the dignity of all human life. Like when the Pope or a bishop comments on a particular piece of legislation or government policy, people might disagree with it, but the Pope or the bishop, and the Pope is the Bishop of Rome, is living out their prophetic call. So they're just reminding us that they don't have any power to legislate, and they're just one citizen. But they're just reminding us of what the church teaches, but also what the gospel proclaims as well. Tonight we're going to talk about social justice. It's on page 30 and 31 in the binder. Okay. So feel free to ask any questions. I don't guarantee that I'll answer them, but feel free to ask any questions. Okay. The respect for the human person and the rights which flow from human dignity and guarantee it. Society must provide the conditions that allow people to obtain what is their due according to their nature and vocation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's the sort of the Catholic definition of what social justice means. And it would be applied to any law or any policy or just human relations, social relations. Pope Francis, just about 2 years before he died, issued a teaching called Fratelli Tutti, brothers all, is what it literally means. And so that in human relations, that the title was Fratelli Tutti. Whatever the line underneath it was, the explanation of it was social friendship and solidarity. Okay. So because human beings are made in the image and likeness of God, because human beings have souls, then there is respect that's due to every human being, no matter what their capabilities are. And that's why I talked a little bit about this last week. When you go to the catacombs in Rome or in around Rome, and they've had to remove all the bones that were there because of grave robbers, but you see different sized niches in the wall, and there's some that are baby size niches in the wall. And so the Romans, because they believed in the immortality of the soul, but they did not believe in the resurrection of the body, if a child was deformed or mentally, incomplete, then they left them out to be exposed to die. And so the Christians adopted these children and cared for them until they died. There wasn't medicine around back that time, so they didn't live very long, and so there was, and they baptized them since the children had been exposed, and that was a technical term for what they did for children. Again, because of their anthropology, they believed in the immortality of the soul, but they did not believe in the resurrection of the body. Judeo-Christians believe in the resurrection of the body, so what we do to our bodies, we do to our souls. And the body is also made, at least indirectly, by God, as well as the soul being directly made by God. So therefore, the body should be treated with respect. And so the Christians, because they believed in the resurrection of the body, adopted these children and cared for them even though they weren't their own. They cared for them until they died. And so when you go to the catacombs, if you ever go to the catacombs, you'll see small niches in the wall, and that's where babies were laid to rest. Okay? Respect for the human person entails respect for the rights that flow from his or her dignity as a creature. The rights are prior to society and must be recognized by it. It is the church's role to remind men of goodwill of these rights and to distinguish them from unwarranted false claims. So, for example, the right to life. It's in the Declaration of Independence. It says you have the right to every human being, and at that point they were not including slaves as human beings. But every human being has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so our country is based on that. Well, they didn't just come up with that. That had been part of Christianity. Even if it hadn't been enforced, it had been part of Christianity from the beginning. Life, liberty. So the right to life is inalienable. It's not given by society, it's given by God. And whether society recognizes it or not, then the church insists on it, because all human beings are willed into existence by God. Even the human beings who we don't like, God, they wouldn't exist if it weren't for God. And so God willed them to exist, and therefore, because they're made in the image and likeness of God, because they're created by God, then they're owed a respect for their dignity as human beings made in the image and likeness of God. So, so some rights are what's in the United States Constitution. It's called inalienable rights, meaning that they precede the society, and they are God-given, and not whether human beings recognize them or not. They're God-given. And so we say we recognize those rights. I don't know how much we do, but we say we do. That's what it means by inalienable rights. Human persons have an inherent dignity by virtue of their being made in the image and likeness of God. So, so social justice is about how you treat other human beings. And it gets back to what I call, what I learned is as the anthropology of human beings, who we are as human beings made in the image and likeness of God, and all the rights that comprise social justice come from our understanding of who the human beings are made in the image and likeness of God. And the other thing is that it doesn't matter what country the human being belongs to. They, according to the church, have the dignity, the respect for and they have the right to life, no matter where they come from, if they're human beings. Anyway, okay. The social nature of the human person. Aristotle says man is a social animal. And so in other words, we are defined by, even though we have stories of people who were shipwrecked on islands, like Tom Cruise. What was the Castaway? And so he makes friends with the volleyball, calls him Wilson, because as human beings we're made to relate to other people. And even though we have stories about people who are castaways or who are marooned on islands, we tell those stories as human beings we are made to interact with other human beings. That's part of our nature. And so the justice comes from our relationship with other human beings. On coming into the world, man is not equipped with everything he needs for developing bodily or spiritual life. He needs others. Differences appear tied to age, physical abilities, intellectual or moral aptitudes, the benefits derived from social commerce, and the distribution of wealth. The talents are not distributed equally. These differences belong to God's plan, who wills that each receive what he needs from others, and those endowed with particular talents share the benefits with those who need them. The differences encourage and often oblige persons to practice generosity, kindness, the sharing of goods. They foster the mutual enrichment of cultures. So, the church would not view human relations in terms of competition, though there can be competitions, but the church would view human relations in terms of cooperation. That as, and I use the example, I used to be asked, because I'm a priest, and not that I would wear my collar at family gatherings, but they would ask me to say the blessing before the meal, so Thanksgiving. So I would say, Lord, thank you for the farmers who grew this food that we are about to eat. Thank you for those who picked the food that we are about to eat. Thank you for those who cleaned the food that we are about to eat. Thank you for the truckers who took the food to the markets, and on and on and on. And eventually, they asked somebody else to do the blessing. But the point that I was making is that if I had to fend for myself and not just go to the grocery store and buy what I needed, I would starve. So every time I eat, every day, I am aware of my dependence on other people to do for me what I cannot do for myself. And that's part of God's plan, that we don't have, we're not self-sufficient, but we are interdependent on others. Other people need what we have, what we can do, our talents, and we need what other people can do, their talents. I've learned that in just going to the grocery store. I give them money, they give me food. I go to Bojangles. I give them money, they give me food. Otherwise, I would starve to death, or I'd have to rob people. Once they had food, I would have to rob them. So the differences belong to God's plan, who wills that each receive what he needs from others, but at the same time that each shares their talents with others as well. So it's a mutual sharing of talents, and that's what Pope Francis meant by both by social friendship and by solidarity. That we depend on other human beings. We are interdependent with them. We're not independent. That's what society is. Society is the hopefully cooperation between human beings, and competition. It's too much. Competition ruins society. Cooperation builds society. But I'm not an economist, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. So if you would turn to page 524, Human Solidarity, paragraph 1939. The principle of solidarity, also articulated in terms of friendship or social charity. And again, when the church talks about solidarity, for the most part, people don't know what they're talking about. But this is what they're talking about. Social friendship is a direct demand of human and Christian brotherhood. An error today abundantly widespread is the disregard for the law of human solidarity and charity, dictated and imposed both by our common origin and by the equality of in rational nature of all men, whatever nation they belong to. This law is sealed by the sacrifice of redemption offered by Jesus Christ on the altar of the cross to his heavenly Father on behalf of sinful humanity. So again, as human beings, let's see, am I in frame now? Okay, have to be in frame. So, God made us in order to cooperate with other human beings. We have talents that other human beings need, and they have talents that we need. One person is not self-sufficient, though that's what we're taught in society, is to be self-sufficient. But really, cooperation is better for society than competition. Solidarity is the physical expression of the belief that all human beings are related in some way because there is only one God who created them all. So, you are my brother because we have one Father, and it's God, not, my father, your father, but God. And when Jesus talks about eternal life, he says that in heaven we all relate as brothers and sisters because we have one Father. And so as soon as we can do that, we are preparing for eternal life by cooperating with other people and by realizing that I have brothers and sisters in here. We're not, it's, I was going to say it. We're not superior or inferior to others. We all have our place in the way that God orders society, our human lives. So solidarity means that what I do or fail to do impacts you, what you do or fail to do impacts me, and there's a relationship between us. Pope St. John Paul II sort of coined the phrase solidarity. There was a union of dock workers, and their title was Solidarity. And so growing up in Poland, he learned that phrase, but solidarity has the greater definition of the way that we relate to other human beings. We relate in solidarity, which is cooperation and not competition. The common good, which you'll hear the church talk about a lot, is the sum total of social conditions which allow people, either as groups or individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and easily. The common good concerns the life of all. So again, when some government policy favors one group over another group, then that's not the common good. I'm trying not to get too political on this because you won't like my political views. If we will turn to page 518, and it has paragraphs 1907 through 1909 are the three essential elements of the common good. First, the common good presupposes respect for the person as such. So not respect for what they do or how much money they have or where they live or anything like that, but respect for the person as a person created by God in the image and likeness of God. In the name of the common good, public authorities are bound to respect the fundamental and inalienable rights of the human person. Inalienable means not granted, but that pre-exist before society. Society should permit each of its members to fulfill his vocation. In particular, the common good resides in the conditions for the exercise of the natural freedoms indispensable for the development of the human vocation, such as the right to act according to a sound norm of conscience and to safeguard privacy and rightful freedom also in matters of religion. So there is an individual aspect to the common good. And my vocation doesn't necessarily mean my priesthood. That is my vocation. Marriage could be your vocation. Your vocation could be what your talents bring to society and how your talents make society better. That could be your vocation as well. And so when it talks about vocation, it doesn't necessarily mean religious vocation. It means your calling as a human being. We were talking earlier about your talents. It's singing. So that your vocation is to build up faith in God, also to build up human beings and to see human beings as meant for something more than what this world offers them. So you could not sing in church, and that would be not using your talents in a vocational way. Yeah. But she just wants somebody to sing, so she doesn't have to sing. There's another story behind that. So so what your ability is. I use the example when I was applying for sponsorship by the Diocese of Birmingham in the seminary. One of the instruments I took was find out what you're best qualified to do, and so they'd ask you 100 questions, and you, by the way, you answer them. So they had ministry, and that was like third. First was English teacher, which I could understand, because when people send me texts, I don't respond right away, because I respond and then I have to check my text for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. And I have to be right on that before I send it back. So they said, why didn't you send your text back? Well, I was to check it first for spelling, punctuation, and grammar, because I'm an English major at heart. No. I look down on them, though, if they instead of FOR, they just write the number 4. I go, terrible. So I have a classmate from seminary who is talking about old, OLD miss. And, because they lost their coach, and just like Oklahoma, he lives in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma lost their coach years ago. So, I corrected him. I said, OLE, Ole Miss, not Old Miss. So, yeah, I just call him Mississippi, because Ole Miss is, anyway. Okay, the paragraph 1908. The second, the common good requires the social well-being and development of the group itself. Development is the epitome of all social duties. Certainly it is the proper function of authority to arbitrate in the name of the common good between various particular interests, but it should make accessible to each what is needed to lead a truly human life. Food, clothing, health, work, education, and culture, suitable information, the right to establish a family, and so on. So it is the government's responsibility to provide the conditions for that, not to provide that, but to provide the conditions that make that possible. And finally, paragraph 1909, the common good requires peace, that is, the stability and security of a just order. It presupposes that authority should ensue by morally acceptable means the security of society and its members. It is the basis of the right to legitimate personal and collective defense. So, in the Bible, when Jesus says, peace I leave you, my peace is my gift to you, not as the world gives do I give it to you. What he's talking about is the Jewish term shalom, which means that everything is going the way that God thinks it should go. So you're living God's will for you, that's peace. We term peace in terms of lack of hostilities between ourselves and other people. And as long as there's a lack of hostilities, we have peace. But Pope St. Paul VI said, if you want peace, work for justice. So peace is the fruit of justice, And if there's an injustice, either real or perceived, there is no peace, even if there is no war. So peace and war are not opposites. Peace and injustice are opposites. So that's why from time to time, the church will point out an injustice that, and it's not saying that, it's just pointing that out because peace is one of the requirements for the common good. And if there's an injustice, there is no peace. Now, I'm sure that there was justice, universal justice at some point in our history, but we don't have it right now. So, and you know, the utopian view is that one day we will have complete justice for everyone, and therefore we will have peace. I don't know how you could have that without God. I know I can't have it in my life without God, but anyway. A society is a group of persons bound together organically by a principle of unity that goes beyond each one of them. The human person needs to live in society. Through the exchange with others, mutual service and dialogue with his brethren, man develops his potential. He thus responds to his vocation. Catholic social teaching requires us to judge every policy, law, and institution on how it enhances human life and dignity. So that's why from time to time you will read either a bishop or the Bishop of Rome will say that this situation in this country is not leading to peace and justice because the human beings are being impacted negatively by that. Okay, so every policy, every law is judged by the church on how it impacts human beings, not necessarily how it impacts markets or whatever, you know, but how it impacts human beings. And if there are human beings that are losing out because of that policy or law, then the church will, in its prophetic mission, will say something about that. One of the at least in the last couple of months, the bishops have said a lot about immigration in the United States. And so it's not about whether people have the right to immigrate or not, or their society. The church says society has the right to limit immigration past its borders, but how people are treated as immigrants. And that's where the injustice is. All the bishops will say that the United States has a right to limit who immigrates across its borders. So, but at the same time, immigrants are human beings and they should be treated as human beings. And so that's the people politicize it, but it's really about morality, not about politics. And so again, Pope Benedict, when he was Pope, if I wish I could find it, but every January there is a day of immigrants in the church, and the Pope usually writes some kind of teaching or something like that about immigration. And Pope Benedict had a very good one about 10 or 12 years ago. Well, let's see, 2013. So it had to be 2015 years ago. And I shared that with people, and they wanted to politicize it. So, okay. And they were descendants of immigrants, you know, unless they're Native American, they're descendants of immigrants, you know. So I always ask people, when did your family come to this country? And they usually don't know. So every country has the right to decide how many immigrants can come into their country. Pope Benedict says that in order to address the problem of immigration, you have to go to the source of why people are leaving their country to come to another country. And if you can't rectify the situation in their natural country, then you can't rectify the situation in their country that they're trying to get to. You have to go back, and you have to do something to address the problems that's causing them to leave their home and go to another country. So, and that's what we're not doing. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So, um, the if and there's injustice everywhere, but if you can't correct the injustice in the home country, people generally don't leave their home and family to go to a foreign land, unless there's something with their home and family that they find intolerable. At least that's why people leave the United States and go to other countries, because they find something intolerable in the United States, and so they go to another country. So we'll take let's see, we'll take a 5.5-minute break, and then when we come back, Alan will talk about St. Lucy.
St. Lucy, yes.
And then we'll have to go out in the hallway to look at the liturgical year, because I put it up in here and it fell down. So take a 5.5. worry a lot about, when it's your first child, you worry a lot. And then as you find out that they don't break. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes God gives you an easy child first so that you'll have another child.
Uh, St. Lucia of Syracuse, also known as Lucia. The name means bringer of light. All that is known about Lucy is from English Bishop St. Aldhelm of Sherborne in the 7th century. She was born on the island of Sicily to wealthy parents, believed to have been Christians. Her father died when she was an infant, and her mother she vowed to remain a virgin and chose to concentrate herself to God as long as she lived and as she got older. But her mother pledged her to marry a young pagan. And she could not talk her mother out of doing that, and she did it with even her consenting not to participate, but mother did anyway. But she did convince her mother to, her mother's name was I believe it's Yot-En, to go to the tomb of St. Agatha, where her mother was cured of a hemorrhagic illness that she had had most of her life. And after that, though, she did change her mind and said that Lucy could remain a virgin. But the rejected bridegroom denounced Lucy as a Christian, and under Emperor Diocletian, it was a crime. And he first sentenced her to become a prostitute. And the persons and or animals they brought, like horses or dogs or something, tried to move her to another house, and they could not get her to move at all. He then put her eyes out and tortured her. But her sight was restored. He then tried to burn her to death, but the fires kept going out. Every time he put her in a different place to a different fire, the fire would go out. But then the emperor sent soldiers over to her house and had one thrust a sword through her throat, which did kill her Lucy. Some say she put out her eyes and carried them around on a tray to dissuade suitors. But no one is sure if any or all of these acts are true or did happen, but they are believed to have. But she has always had a very large following. In the Scandinavian countries, there's a feast day of Lucia, the Festival of Lights. And in some Swedish communities, a young girl dressed in white with a red sash and a crown of lingonberry twigs, carrying a candle from house to house and carrying a torch and leaving baked goods. In most Norwegian and Swedish families, usually the youngest daughter dresses in white on Lucy Day, December the 13th, going through the house and wakes up the rest of the family with song, coffee, and saffron buns. Both celebrations are traced back to her role as being of light, which is what her name means. Lucy's Day also ushered in the Yuletide, with Lucy candles in the house and Lucy fires in the fields to welcome the birth of the true light of the world. All preparations were completed by Lucy Day. Lucy's name in Latin means is associated with the fallen angel Lucifer. And the buns that she delivered represents the devil's cat, for they were made in a crossed shape where the feet rolls in under the arms, and in turn it looks like a cat sits, like a cat will be sitting. Her remains supposedly went to Constantinople and then to Venice when she died in 304. But the Crusades where her remains supposedly went to Constantinople and then to Venice during the Crusades, where they were buried in the church of Santa Lucia. In Venice, the gondoliers hum or song by singing the song Santa Lucia as they rode people through the waters. I say she died in 304 in Syracuse. She was canonized by Pope Gregory in the 7th century. Her feast day is December the 13th. She is patronage of blind people and blindness, authors, sufferers of eye diseases, sufferers of hemophilia, illness, glaziers, glass workers, laborers, peasants, salesmen, writers, throat infections, and gondoliers. There wasn't a lot of details anywhere that I could find about her, but apparently she did live and got to meet a lot, had quite a following.
Still does. So, yeah, if you, Scandinavian countries, Sweden and Norway especially, St. Lucy Day, December 13th is an important day. Now, I tried to put up the chart for the liturgical year and it fell down, so we'll have to go out into the hallway. That's right, we're a field trip. So, wherever you can see, okay? So today is December 16th, right here, okay? There are two major feast days in the church year. One is the Nativity of the Lord, Christmas on December 25th, and the other is Easter, which this year is, or next year, on 2026 is April 5th. So, so those are the most important days in the church year. The Christmas celebrates the incarnation of Jesus Christ, fully human and fully divine, or the birth of Jesus Christ, the nativity of the Lord, and Easter is his resurrection. So there is a period of preparation before each of those major feast days. And so Advent is which we're in right now, and which goes the 4 Sundays before December 25th. So sometimes it can be 22 days long, sometimes it can be 28 days long. This year it's 25 days long because it started on November 30th and it ends on December 24th. So, so our Mass for Christmas, and again, in the Jewish calendar, the day begins at sunset. So the Christmas season, the Easter season begins at sunset. Okay, so on sunset on December 24th is the beginning of the Christmas season for us. We will have Mass at 4:30. I think you can have it as early as 4 o'clock. And so by the time Mass is over, the sun will have set. So we have Advent, which is this year is 25 days. And the word Advent means coming. So the first part of Advent, which ended today, is about the scriptures focus on the return of Jesus Christ, the second coming of Jesus Christ. From December 17th through the 24th, it focuses on the first coming of Jesus Christ. So it like tomorrow, we'll read Matthew chapter 1 and then Luke chapter 1. That'll be the gospel reading. And so all the events that happened up until the birth of Jesus. And then on the night of December 24th, we have, it's a little bit different now. Did you have midnight mass? Okay, so we had midnight mass growing up. Right. So I'm much older than you, so I'm much older than everybody except for Alan. So I'm probably younger than you are.
You are.
Yeah, okay. We won't say how old we are. But when I was growing up, when I was a child, the first Mass was midnight Mass. So it was later on that they had, and whatever the first Mass is for Christmas, that's the one that's best attended. Usually it's 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. So, yeah. And the Polish community is called the Shepherd's Mass, because the reading would be from Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. The shepherds were in the fields, and the angels appeared to them and said, "Do not be afraid. There's a great joy will happen today in Bethlehem. A Savior is born to you, who is Christ and Lord." So we have Advent, and then we have Christmas, which goes through the baptism of the Lord, which this year it goes through January 11th. So most of the people have finished Christmas and thrown out their tree by just Christmas Day. But as far as liturgically, it goes through, we have the Sunday after December 25th. If there's a Sunday between December 25th and January 1st, is the Holy Family. January 1st is the Mary, Mother of God. The Sunday after January 1st is the Epiphany of the Lord. And if there's a Sunday after if it's after January 6th or 7th or 8th, then we celebrate the baptism of the Lord. So it's the manifestation of Jesus Christ, fully human and fully divine. That's the Christmas season. So this year, the Christmas season is 18 days long. So if the Epiphany is later than January 6th, if it's January 7th or 8th, then the Monday is the baptism of the Lord, and then we go into ordinary time. But if it's between January 2nd and January 6th, which it is this year, then we have the next Sunday is the baptism of the Lord, and that's the completion of the Christmas season. So the calendar messes that up. Then we have a stretch of ordinary time, which is in green. And then we have, preparing for Easter, we have Lent, which begins this year. Ash Wednesday is on February 18th. Okay, so it will depend on when Easter is, and Easter is set in the Protestant churches and the Catholic Church as the Sunday after the first full moon in springtime. The Passover was the first, well, actually the first day, the first full moon in springtime was the first day of the, what's it called? The Feast of the Loaves. And then the second day was Passover. The Seder meal is on the second day. So the day after, whatever the first full moon is in springtime. Lent goes from Ash Wednesday to the evening Mass of the Lord's Supper on Holy Thursday. This year it'll go from February 18th to April 2nd this year, or in 2026. That's all Sundays, okay? And then we have the Triduum, which is the 3 days, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. So you have the Mass of the Lord's Supper in the evening on Holy Thursday, you have the celebration of the Lord's Passion on Good Friday, and you have the Easter Vigil on Holy Saturday. And then Easter Sunday, we have Mass on that Sunday. And so you have that period of Lent, which is a period of preparation to celebrate Easter, and then Easter lasts until Pentecost Sunday. So from Easter Sunday to Pentecost Sunday, and Pentecost means 50, so it's 50 days after Easter. So that's the end of the Easter season. Unimportant or common, but like ordnance is bullets and rockets and missiles and all that are called ordnance. So it's something you shoot at a target. And so ordinary time comes from that same word about something that you shoot at a target. And the target is, in this case, is the kingdom of God. So we go back over all the teachings of Jesus, and we end with, that was last year, sorry. The last Sunday in ordinary time is Christ the King, King of the universe. In church speak, the first day of the week is Sunday. So Advent starts on a Sunday, Christmas starts at sunset on December 24th. Ordinary time starts on Monday, and then Ash Wednesday, and the Triduum starts at sunset on Holy Thursday, and Easter ends on sunset on Pentecost Sunday. In the Jewish calendar, sunset was the beginning of the day. So like if you know anybody who's like Jehovah's Witnesses or Seventh-day Adventists, they from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday is their Sabbath. So Saturday, but some sunset Friday. Whereas we think of the day beginning at midnight when we're all asleep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't think you were, but.
Let's just get started.
Okay, yeah.
So the Advent season different for the Protestant? Like, do they do the same 4 weeks?
They do, mainline Protestants do. Evangelical Protestants don't celebrate Advent. They may celebrate Christmas, but it may be on the Sunday closest to December 25th. A lot of Baptist churches nowadays are having a Christmas service on December 24th, sometime in the afternoon of December 24th, so it doesn't interfere with family time. And which is why we have mass at 4:30 here. People can still go home, and I never went to sleep on Christmas Eve. I had to go to bed, but I never went to sleep.
I just asked that question just because my son said that he had visited one of the churches here locally. I don't think it was, I think it's non-denominational, but they're lighting the Advent wreath. But he said the difference was, you know, we're lighting the pink candle, that we're on the third week.
Mhm.
This past, they were on the second. So he was trying to ask me why, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, sure why.
It's a different.
And unless they're maybe celebrating Christmas on the Sunday, and therefore, like, this would be the second week, and then the third week, and
And
fourth, so I don't know. If you're Lutheran church or Methodist church, they celebrate Advent, and they celebrate Lent as well. I know when I was in Jacksonville, the Methodist campus minister, and we would have a service so we'd have a party on Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, and then at midnight we would stop partying and we would have Ashes, Ash Wednesday. I couldn't stay up at this point in my life. So that was 30 years ago, so I could stay up. If you will see, like after Pentecost Sunday, Trinity Sunday, Body and Blood of Christ, and there are some other important days. Let's see, Saints Peter and Paul on June 29th. It's always on June 29th. If it falls on a Sunday, then we celebrate that. This year it falls on a Monday, so we don't, we celebrate it on Monday. Transfiguration on August 6th. Exaltation of the Holy Cross on September 14th. Assumption of Mary on August 15th. So every country has certain holy days where Mass attendance is required. In the United States, it's December 8th, Advent. December 8th, Immaculate Conception. December 25th, Nativity of the Lord. January 1st, Mary, Mother of God. And August 15th, the Assumption. And November 1st, All Saints Day. And then obviously every Sunday. So whether those days fall on a Sunday or not, they're observed as holy days of obligation. So probably need to keep up with the announcements. I think of the liturgical year as a spiral. In other words, every Easter we have the same readings. Every Easter Sunday we have the same readings. So they're the same, but we are different, hopefully, from last year, from a year ago. We're hopefully closer to God, or, you know, the readings mean something different to us now than they did a year ago. It's like every December 25th, at night we have the same readings, and during the day we have the same readings, but they're different from each other. So hopefully the readings are the same, but we are different. Just like for January 1st, For Holy Thursday, Good Friday, the readings are always the same. But hopefully we are different. So what we hear in the readings and how they apply to our lives may be different, even though they are the same readings from year to year. So now on Sundays, and Sundays are the outside, during ordinary time, we have year A, B, and C. So year A, we have, which we are starting now, mostly Matthew's Gospel. Year B is mostly Mark's Gospel. Year C is mostly Luke's Gospel. And then the Gospel of John is read more during the Easter season and closer to Easter. And there's a little in year B, because Mark is so short, there are 5 or 6 weeks where we read from chapter 6 in John's Gospel on Sundays. Questions? So today is December 16th, tomorrow December 17th, and the 17th to the 24th. The readings are always the same. The gospel reading is always the same. Actually,
Liturgical Matt.
that's a good question.
Wait, Matt.
Yeah, probably so. I don't know. I don't even know how to put an app on my phone to have somebody do it for me. Like your son, for example. Since he's a toddler, he can probably do it. I can't, but he can.
It's over.
It's all right. Okay. So the readings are the same every year. In ordinary time, they're different every year. And the readings are the same for Lent and for Easter every year, but during ordinary time, they're different, just depending on what year it is. But the idea would be that if you went to church every day, if you went to Mass every day for 3 years, you would hear a reading from every book of the Bible, 73 books. Most people don't go to Mass every day. I go to Mass, but most people.
Not yet. I mean, you gotta have a job.
Gotta have a job. It's my job to be there. So, for us, the liturgical year began on the first Sunday of Advent, which this year was November 30th, and it will end, let's see, it's 28th, so it'll end on the 27th of November next year. So it depends. Usually it's like 365 days. Okay? What it can be really difficult is when Christmas is on a Monday, because Sunday morning is the fourth Sunday of Advent and Sunday evening is Christmas. So, and we'll have one of those when that, maybe I'll be dead by then. Be in heaven. It won't matter. I won't have to do 5 or 6 masses at Christmas. So, if you're old, those things seem comforting. If you're young, they don't seem comforting. So that's where we are, and then the evening of December 24th, which is a Wednesday. Yeah. So we'll start celebrating Christmas then. Now, we have a little problem with Christmas in the United States because you have a liturgical season of Christmas, and you also have the celebration of Christmas in society. So people have already put their lights up. People have already decorated for Christmas. They've already shopped. I used to work in retail business, so I knew that, starting in November, they would start playing Christmas music because people will shop more and they will buy more and spend more money if they're playing Christmas music. So the idea wasn't that you would have a Merry Christmas. The idea was that they would have a Merry Christmas. And in the retail business, your whole month was the month before Christmas. Your whole year was the month before Christmas. So,
So Black Friday failed, that's start Christmas early.
yeah, that's, and so in Birmingham, it was November 11th, because November 11th was Veterans Day and all the schools were out on Veterans Day. So since all the schools were out, all the retail stores were open. No matter what, I mean, if November 11th fell on a Sunday, then November 12th would be Veterans Day. But they would have a big parade in Birmingham and, all the stores would be open. It was how you, from there until December 24th, you made your money. Snap. So, so that's where we are. We're in Advent, and then we will be in Christmas, next week. And then Christmas goes through the baptism of the Lord, which is Sunday, November 11th. And the next day, Monday, is ordinary time. February 18th is Ash Wednesday, at the beginning of Lent. And then Holy Week begins on March 29th with Palm Sunday. And then the 3 days, the Triduum is Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. And then we have Easter Sunday on April 5th. And it's on a Sunday this year. Easter Sunday is. And then that goes for 50 days and it ends at Pentecost, which this year is May 24th. And then we go into ordinary time and until next year. So when Charmaine had asked me, the choir director, like, what hymns do I choose? I'd say, well, look at the readings for that Mass. And that's the hymns. You choose the hymns, and the prayers, everything is based on the readings for that day. So if you want to know what hymns to sing, just look at the readings, and whatever the themes are for the readings. Those would be the themes for the hymns. So the readings for each Mass tell us about how to follow Jesus, how to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. And then everything else is built around whatever the readings are. Okay, so that's the liturgical year. You don't have to know that, but you have a little bit of information. Most Catholics don't know that it's, like, they know because I'm wearing purple that it's Advent. And then when I wear white, they know it's Christmas, except for Marian feast days.
My sponsor knows all this.
Yeah. So anyway, we go by the liturgical year, and that kind of gives you an idea of the liturgical year. So there is a day, every day is it has a purpose. Either it's, you know, it could be like Wednesday in the 25th week of ordinary time, but whatever that is. You know, so there are readings and prayers for that day. So you will not be tested on any of this. But just to let you know.
It's okay as long as it's small.
Yeah. That map. That chart. Okay, so, we'll go back to the classroom. And hopefully you're going out.
Scandal.
So, we will, pray the rosary, and we'll pray one decade of the rosary, which is fairly self-airy. In the event, if you need a, rosary, you can have one. And if you have the, how to pray the rosary brochure, tell you all about the, thought I had some, but I'm sure they'll show up when I don't need them. Oh, there it is.